Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show Podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1 Hank FM and NTXVarsitySports.com. Live from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. The Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show Podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. And now, here's the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist.
On this second down carry, they give us to Caden Wingfield. Lots of running room to the 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Caden Wingfield. Touchdown, Aledo Bearcats. 44 yards for Caden Wingfield. His team-leading 9th score, and the Bearcats strike first.
And there was a lot of striking by that Bearcats offense this past Thursday over in North Richland Hills. And we welcome you to the Aledo Coaches Show Podcast. I'm Kevin Lonnquist, and we welcome you to the Parker County Brewing Company. We will bring you every podcast from this location throughout the 2025-26 school year. And we're on the patio because of the beautiful fall weather, and it's going to get a little cooler this week, by the way. Well, it should be really, really nice, though, in the coming weeks as we continue to do this outside. So this is going to be our landing spot for the foreseeable future. And we also want to thank our two main sponsors between H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. We always appreciate their support of the podcast and Aledo Athletics. Number one, Aledo now 8-0 following its statement 72-10 manhandling of the Richland Royals this past Thursday in North Richland Hills. The game moved from Friday to Thursday because of the weather. Good idea, too, because if we were playing on Friday, we would have been dancing around in the weather, probably pushed until Saturday, the way that thing was going, right, Coach?
So there we go. We talked about it during the week last week, me and Coach Cates, and it was a good thing that we did get it changed. And then, as soon as we got it changed, we started seeing that everybody else throughout the area was getting it changed. So, we would have struggled to get the game in, so it was a good call.
Yeah, for sure. With the win over Richland, the Bearcats are now 6-0 in District 3-5A. The national record district winning streak is now at 133. And we don't have to wonder about that district tiebreaker business anymore. And unless something out of whack happens in the last two games of the regular season, doubt that's going to happen. The Bearcats are going to be hosting an opening round playoff game for the 8th consecutive year. Bearcats are celebrating senior night this coming Friday at Tim Buchanan Stadium. They will take on the Azle Hornets. Azle is 2-6, 2-4 in District 3-5A. Down 13-7 at the half. The Hornets broke things open in the second half and beat Granbury last Thursday 35-13. As always, we have a two-segment show, and we will start with, of course, who you just heard, Coach Robby Jones. We will review the win over Richland and then look ahead to Friday against the Hornets. And in our second, we will be joined by the brothers, senior safety Kamron Hall and sophomore defensive back Jordan Hall. Should be a lot of fun to talk to those guys because that secondary is really taking off along with the rest of the defense. All right, Coach, you told me that in the pregame interview last Thursday, he said it would be a great thing if our team could get off to a great start. And, well, they did. I mean, if the whole half was impressive. Did you sense it could be that kind of a performance?
That's what we've been waiting on all year. We've been saying it all year. We've got a good offensive line. We've got good receivers. We've got good running backs. Our quarterbacks just need to settle down and get comfortable and start making plays. And that's what happened is, we were able to get the ball out to our receivers. We had some big plays in the passing game, some big plays in the run game. And that's what we wanted to see. So, it was kind of a relief to finally see our offense play that way. Part of it, I'm going to give Coach Williams a little bit of credit. He was on their tail all during the off week and then again during the preparation for Richland to, maybe practice a little bit harder than what you've been practicing so we can get better results, and it paid off for us.
Sure. You mentioned you've been waiting for this all season long, but I think when you do what you did in the first half, scored every time you touched the ball, that's 51 points, more than 500 yards of total offense. I don't even think even the greatest teams in Aledo history that we've seen, or what I've seen for 20 seasons, and you a little bit longer, put a first half together like that where the execution was so precise.
No, we haven't seen very many first halves like that, and you got to also look at the other side of the ball, because they were 3 and out and getting us the ball back real quick. So, you got to look at how, what the defense was doing as well. So, it was overall, not just offense, it was defense. It was a team effort. because those guys were getting the offense the ball and getting us in good position to go and score.
I wanted to ask you this. To what extent do you think last year's scare at your place, you win 49-42 in overtime, kind of got this team's attention kind of leading up to this one?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened was, the fact that they took us overtime last year got our guys, attention a little bit. So they went into the game thinking, okay, look, this is going to be, another test just like the Ryan game was. And also the fact that, these guys played Ryan the way they did. They had a chance with 4 minutes to go in the game to kick a field goal to take a lead against Denton Ryan. So, our guys realized going in that, hey, this is a pretty good football team, and we better be, ready to go when the game kicks off.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about, the things that we were talking about in last week's podcast about the passing game. And I guess it worked, but what stood out to you in terms of just from an execution standpoint, mechanic standpoint, just route standpoint? Because you said you worked on so many things with that passing game leading through after the bye.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was, we were hitting on some of the deep balls. The deep balls are what has been missing from our offense this year. We've had some open receivers and we missed them, and it's not just been one person, it's been everybody. So, that was good to see. That was one of the focuses, that we had going into the game was, hey, we felt like we could take some deep shots, but we just need to connect on them because you saw we missed a couple in the Denton Ryan game. We missed a couple, here and there throughout the year. So it was good to see us connect on those balls.
Yeah, and as far as Lincoln Tubbs was concerned, he starts off connecting on his first 8 passes, ends up throwing for a career-high 270 yards and 4 touchdowns. More improvement to do as always because coaches and players will never be satisfied with what they do game in and game out. But what do you think changed for him, though, between Granbury and then last week against Richland?
Man, I just think he's starting to feel more and more comfortable playing quarterback at the varsity level. It's something that he hadn't done until this year. So it's taken him, several games to get comfortable back there and to get comfortable with, getting the ball out to the receivers. We've known all along that he has the ability. When that was the case when we moved him back from receiver to quarterback. The first couple of times he went out to throw the football, I was like, whoa. Didn't realize he could throw the ball that well. So, he just had to get real comfortable with, playing the position, and I think he has now.
Okay, and then Caden Finley, of course, you didn't play him against Granbury because of the knee inflammation. That seemed to do the trick. 7 catches, 169, 3 touchdowns. And by the way, with those 3 touchdowns, he has set a new career school record, 42 touchdown catches. And so that breaks JoJo Earl's record of 40. So a huge night for him. And I think, as you were just talking about a few moments ago, the deep vertical shots, 2 51-yard touchdown passes from Lincoln to him. And Richland's secondary has had some issues, of course, this year. I mean, because Granbury was able to throw it against him. But what I think Finley's performance does is that he makes people pay for it when he gets a slight opening there because of his athleticism, his height, his ability to run his routes and that sort of thing. And he's a mismatch that most high school secondaries can't contain.
Yeah, I mean, and one of those balls was real tight coverage, and it was fit in there perfectly, and he never missed a stride and was able to then run away from the guy. So it was just it's good to see that happen, because Caden is like you said, he's a mismatch, with his size and his strength and his speed. It makes it difficult on secondaries.
See, and the third touchdown, the one that's not going to get talked about, but I'm going to talk about it here, was the one in the corner of the end zone, on the far side of the field, a little out route in the end zone. I think it was like 7 yards or something like that. Great ball from Lincoln. That might be, coaches will talk about the deep verticals and being how interesting they are. They kind of get the big wow out of it. But when you're talking about throwing to a tight window or throwing to a spot where it fits perfectly like that one did, that's the throw that I kind of take away from both of those young men.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those timing routes that, like I said, we worked on all during the off week and then, of course, leading into Richland. It's something that we've had in all year. I think we hit him on that earlier in the year. I'm not sure exactly what game it was. But, yeah, I mean, I think it may have been the Brewer game. Nash may have hit him on the same route. But, it's just, one of those timing things that the quarterback and the receiver have to be on the same page, know when he's going to make the break, and put it out there where the DB can't get to it.
Yeah, the only guy who should be catching it is the one who did catch it, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about your defense, because I think the start, as you mentioned a few moments ago, really set them back. You got a couple of 3-and-outs. The second one only took about 34 seconds. And I think from that moment on, they were kind of on their heels. And I have to be honest with you, I kind of felt bad for their quarterback, Brett Cates, because he took an absolute pounding from your defense. I'm sure he was feeling it on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the case all year. Our defense has been getting after the quarterback. They've been, punishing the quarterback. He doesn't have a whole lot of time to get rid of the football. And when he holds it too long, he's going to take a lick, even if, he gets rid of it. They're right there, to put a hat on him. So, that kid was tough, just like his brother was the year before, and survived the football game. But, I'm going to say he was pretty sore on Saturday, Friday, I guess.
And I will back you up on this. I think the roughing the passer penalty against Carson Dempsey was a bad flag on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was real touchy. They said, it wasn't that he was late. They said that it was helmet to helmet, and and I really don't agree with the call after I got to watch it on video. It might have been a little face to face, but the majority of the hit was to the torso, and and I think they might have been trying to take care of the quarterback a little too much on that.
Yeah, I get you on that. Okay, so let me ask you this: so do games like that against Richland? And again, you don't have to really do much to validate your defense. But I would think so playing against teams like Geyer, Lancaster, Ryan earlier this year. And still, you mentioned last week about how exotic this Richland offense was, explosiveness beyond that sort of thing. So to shut them down, they had 221 yards of total offense, 1 touchdown. Nice play from Jayshawn Gibson, their running back. He's a good player. We all know that. But other than that, nothing. So, but does a game like that kind of reinforce even what you think of your defense? Because maybe sometimes against lesser teams, you kind of get into that false sense of security, and games like this kind of remind you what this unit is all about.
Yeah, because we've seen that offense just roll through people, and they weren't able to do that against us. In that one long touchdown run that they did get, we were able to go back and look at the video, and we can say, okay, look, this is the reason why they did it. And we'd already caught it during the game, but and we're not going to point out the 1 or 2 guys that weren't in the right position, but it's just an example of our guys are, for the most part, on just about every play where they're supposed to be, and they're making plays. And then we had one little lapse where somebody wasn't where they were supposed to be, and you saw what Richland was capable of doing.
Okay. So let me ask you about this, okay? Because it's always said that there's always one thing that has to come for a defense to be at an elite level or considered elite. And this group, for me, has already been playing at an exceptional level. But for this group, it seemed like the turnovers were the last thing to come. You guys get 3 picks last week. And then, of course, one of them is your first defensive score of the year on the Alex Patton 40-yard pick, which we'll hear a little bit later on. How do you see that, something like that, when a defense kind of takes these thresholds, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we dropped a few early in the year, so it's good to see those guys, making those plays now, and it's always great to get a defensive score. When we get those defense scores, that's when you start seeing the 72 points, and things like that, because the defense chips in on it. So yeah, I mean, it's good to see them, start getting those turnovers, and want to see more of them, each and every week.
Yeah. Plus the fact people need to stop asking Cooper Cyphers to stop being the leading defensive scoring guy on the defense. And so, but let's talk about our 2 guests that are going to be joining us here in the second segment, the Hall brothers. Kamron's had a great season, 24 tackles. He's created 3 turnovers this year. He's committed to Lamar University down in Beaumont. But just talk about the year that he's had, because he's really come a long way from last year.
Yeah, I think he's playing faster this year because he's a lot more comfortable with what he's doing. He spent a couple of years learning the position. And then once you move from JV level to the varsity level, which he did last year, there's a lot more coverages, a lot more stuff that you got to learn. So, some of the, hesitation maybe last year was because he maybe wasn't sure of what he was doing, with the certain coverages and all that. But this year he's playing a lot faster, and because he's so comfortable in the position and knows what he's doing, he can do it at a faster pace. And then also, we're made sure he's got his contacts in. There were some times last year where he was squinting real hard, looking over to see what the call was coming over from the sideline, and we realized real quick, hey, you need to get your contacts in. And that way you can see what's going on.
I know the feeling, Kamron, by the way, so I got you on that. Okay, so as for Jordan, of course, he's coming off the ACL injury last year. He's handled everything that you've asked of him when you all put him in the starting position. So what's his ceiling?
I mean, the ceiling's very high for him. You know, he's only beginning right now. You know, we knew when he was young, when he was in middle school, that, hey, this cat's got a chance to be one of the best we've ever had at the cornerback position. You know, and he can also, we haven't used him in the spot this year, but probably starting next year, once we do get, you know, a full year of off season and get him 100% healthy, he'll go over and catch some footballs because he's got great ball skills. You know, so. I mean, he's going to be one of the most sought-after corners that we've ever had here. You know, his recruiting has just started picking up, but you know, he's got a very high ceiling, and we just got to keep him grounded. Don't let him get the big head. Get him out on the track and get him running. You know, this spring, and I think he's going to be a great player for us.
And you say that, too, about being one of the best that's ever come through here when we saw two really good ones 2 years ago with Jaden Allen and Chris Johnson, too. And
yeah, you know, and then you got to go back and look at, you know, we sent one to Kansas State and J.D. Durham. And, you know, we've had some really good corners that have come through here, but, you know, he's got a chance to be one of the best.
All right, so let's take a look at Azle here. Obviously, a lot of these recent meetings with them haven't been very close, but what we've seen from head coach Devin Doris' team this year really hasn't been a problem with the offense. They can move it. They're averaging nearly 420 yards per game.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're doing a good job offensively. They've got some returning starters over there on the offense, but, you know, they were very senior heavy, you know, defensively last year, you know, so that's where you kind of see the drop-off, you know, is over on the defense. You know, they got young guys over there, inexperienced guys, you know. They do a good job over at Azle. You know, Coach Doris always has. You know, when he's got really, really good players, they make a playoff run. You know, last year was an example of that. He had a good senior group. Like I said, they were real senior-heavy last year. They made the playoffs, probably should have won that first-round playoff, but – you know, they're a good group, you know, and they've gotten better throughout the year is what I've seen about them.
All right, and their quarterback, Derek Valley's had a really good year, too. Last year, you guys saw him, kind of roughed him up, had 3 picks, less than 100 yards passing. But where do you think he's changed from what you saw last year in person to what you see on film?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're a returning starter at quarterback, you're going to be better the following year. So, you know, he is a better quarterback this year. He gets the ball out. You know, number one, I can't remember his name. I want to say it's Aiden something. But, you know, he's kind of his go-to guy. He was last year as well. But, you know, they're a pretty good little duo. And you know, they've got a pretty good running back as well. So, you know, they've done a really good job offensively, and, you know, and their defense has gotten better, like I said, throughout the year.
Yeah, they shut down Granbury last week, which was good. You know, Granbury's had some issues, but, of course, Granbury the week before put 40 on Richland. Speaking of the running back you just mentioned, that's King Stevens. He's a sophomore, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns. A lot of people do think he is going to be a Division I type of player. I mean, that's based on the numbers that he's got. He's kind of built like Jayshon Gibson a little bit, maybe a little bit small, maybe a touch smaller there. But I would imagine that. Do you find him similar, or do you find him different than what you saw with Gibson?
You know, they're similar. You know, he's not quite where Jayshon is right now, but you do see the potential in him since he is a sophomore, and he's had some really good runs this year. So, you know, he's going to give us a little bit of a test. You know, so we're going to have to make sure that we're geared up and we're ready to go. We can't go out there thinking that they're just going to roll over. They're going to show up on Halloween. And they're going to get after us, so we got to make sure we're ready.
All right, and then finally, as we wrap this up, just a word about senior night. It's always kind of an emotional week leading up to the game, and obviously there's probably going to be one more home game that you guys are going to play at a couple weeks after Friday. But with that said, with so many things going on with ceremony, what's the key preparing and navigating your team through a week like this?
You know, we just got to make sure everybody's focused. You know, there is some emotion because it's not really the last time because we're going to get a home playoff game. But, you know, normally it's the last time the seniors are going to get to play at Tim Buchanan Stadium. You know, it's Halloween, and kind of like we have in the past. You know, we played some Halloween games in the past, and the kids always want to go all orange. So these guys are wanting to go all orange. So we're calling it an orange out. We're going to wear a orange jersey, orange pants, and try to look like a pumpkin out there. So,
okay.
You know, we're going to, do our best to make sure that we're focused and ready to go.
Okay, and then for the helmets, what are we going with the black helmets, or did the whites come in yet?
The problem with the whites is we bought the game day skins and they haven't all come in. We've got most of them, but for us to wear the white right now, which they were supposed to be here on Friday, but I didn't see them today. So hopefully they're in, because the kids are ready for a little bit of a change. But, if those get in, we may be wearing the white.
It's kind of like with those skins. It's been kind of the running joke this year. It's kind of like road construction. Will take longer and cost more before it's finally done.
Yeah, they got to make the trip overseas, and I think we got issues with that.
I got you on that. All right, Coach, thanks so much for the time. We'll look forward to seeing you guys on Friday against Azle. All right, and we want to remind you that this Aledo podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Nye Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30. Exit Las Vegas Trail and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. Don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family-owned and operated for over 30 years. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back for the second segment of this podcast. We'll be joined by the brothers, Jordan Hall and Kamron Hall. Stick around. Podcast follows right after this timeout.
Richland will start at its 40-yard line. Ball on the near hash. Cates will throw quickly to the right, and it's picked off. Alex Patton on his way to the house. Touchdown, Aledo Bearcats.
I have two other defenders sitting to my left that are pretty happy when they saw that play happen in front of them on the first Richland offensive play in the second half. We welcome you back to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. Before we meet with our guests, Kamron Hall and Jordan Hall, a couple of Aledo notables to tell you about. The girls and boys cross-country teams will be running in the Class 5A state track meet at Old Settlers Park in Round Rock this coming Friday. It's a 5K race. The girls get started at 9:30 a.m. The boys will start at 10:10 a.m. The girls won the 5A Region 1 title last week in Lubbock. The boys were second. And each program features the regional individual champions, Molly Garrison for the girls, Tyler Connolly for the boys. So good luck to the cross-country teams on Monday. And then the number one Aledo volleyball team begins its pursuit of returning to the state semifinals, maybe this time getting to the state championship. They will be in the 5A Division I playoffs on Thursday, a 7 o'clock start at the Arlington ISD Athletics Complex. They will be taking on Colleyville Heritage. This complex is near AT&T Stadium. Lady Cats are 37-2, and they finished off the District 5A championship by going 12-0. That's a 35-match district winning streak for them, and they're going to be taking that into the 2026 season, likely as a Class 6A program. So, gentlemen, so you're not the only ones that got a district winning streak going on here. But we want to welcome, as we begin our second segment, with senior safety Kamron Hall and his younger brother, sophomore defensive back Jordan Hall. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us. All right. So let's talk about the Richland game. Overall thoughts. Just you had a chance to look at the film on Friday and kind of look back, and anything just kind of stand out to you other than the fact that you guys just got after them so fast? I'll start with you on this, Kamron.
So watching film on them, we know they had a good running back, and they had a lot of short, speedy receivers. So when I come to make a tackle, I have to break down a lot. So when I was at home, I started watching a lot of film on them and break down, like, what coverage will I be good in here, or, like, what type of angles will I take on the tackles and all that.
Okay, and then Jordan, what about for you?
Just mentally being ready for the challenge of the receivers, knowing that they had a great running back, physical running back, knows how to juke, run the ball, and then just be ready for the pass game. And they had a great quarterback too, and just watching film over them and just being ready for them mentally.
Let's say that you guys were doing that, but you guys got the start you wanted too, because you got two quick 3-and-outs from them. And could you tell anything on their side after that start, especially maybe when it got 10-0 or maybe when it got 17-0, that with your offense gelling like it was, that maybe they felt like, man, we're going to be up against this? Or what could you sense on that? I'll start with you on this, Jordan.
I noticed that they were shutting down. We were like, just keep going and kept grinding, and then kept scoring. And then on defense, we kept playing like we usually play every single game, and I guess they didn't like it, and that's what happened.
I got you on that. What about for you, Kamron?
Yeah, I can sense the momentum on their side is starting going downhill. So on defense, we didn't start letting up, and our offense just kept putting the points on the scoreboard.
I think maybe one of the turning points, for the early turning points that maybe set the wheels in motion for that, was they had you guys stopped them at your 49-yard line. You're up 10-0 there. They tried the fake punt. They kind of got discombobulated there, and then boom, 51 yards from Lincoln to Caden. And I think that kind of kind of put everything in motion on that. Could you sense from that sequence there, I'll start with you on this, Kamron, that maybe that's where this thing kind of felt the way you guys were describing it just a few moments ago?
Yes, sir. As soon as that play happened, I knew we had to have our foot on their necks. Like, we couldn't be stopped at all.
All right. What about for you, Jordan?
Most definitely. It's Caden Finley, you know what I'm saying? Great wide receiver. He always bailed us out if we were in trouble. Love the guy, and just that's what happened.
He's kind of fun to watch. It's fun to kind of be on the sideline, just kind of watching him do his thing, right?
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so as the season has been going, anything surprise you about this defensive line? Maybe nothing does, but I imagine that you guys really appreciate. I don't know if you guys get stuck being spectators watching them, but what do you notice when you watch them? Because you've got a pretty good view of them rushing the passer and closing down. I'm going to start with you on this, Kamron. But what do you see when you're watching them just kind of inflict their will on every snap?
Yeah, I love those front four guys, Carson, Decker, Cooper, and Timon. They get out the quarterbacks very good, and that allows us to be patient in our reads and make good tackles.
Okay, and then what about for you, Jordan?
I absolutely love them. They give us time to guard them. Every time I look up, 3 seconds, they back there. I'm like, dang, they're some really good D linemen, and I just really love them.
Yeah, you get spoiled by that, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, you guys, it really makes a big difference in terms of just your coverage abilities, is that your pass rush can be effective and throw the timing off because it creates opportunities for you too, I would think. And so,
Yes, sir.
all right, so let's talk a little bit about, let's start with you on this, Kamron, about big offseason for you. You heard how Coach talked about how you progressed and that you worked really hard. The payoff is there. Some great individual performances that you've had. What's changed for you and your form and just the way you're playing the game from last year to this year?
I feel like from junior year to senior year, I've been playing way faster. Like junior year, as Coach Jones said, I barely knew any of the coverages, so I was starting to get used to it. And I made a little slur reads or hesitations to get to the ball. Well, this year, I'm able to know the coverages and get to the ball faster and play faster.
I think the one thing about your game, too, that's really impressed me is how much of a sure tackler you've been, too.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
you've been right there. Forms, the technique has been there. Something that it looks like that's a product of all the off-season work. Talk about that.
During the off season, we work on a lot of form tackling. I'm gonna give some credit to Coach Hodge too. We preach on that form tackling. He gets my butt when I make a tackle, but it's not to his standard. So. Yeah, I give a lot of credit to Coach Hodge.
Okay, and because of that, you've committed to Lamar University down in Beaumont, a great opportunity for you. Can you just talk about that moment because you've had some other schools that you were considering there, and who knows what might happen? You might get a G5 school like a UTEP or a Sam Houston State or somebody that might come after you in the late stages of this. It just kind of happens the way recruiting is. But for you, when you see that payoff, being able to play college football or knowing that you'll have a destination in front of you, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot to me because, my parents, they put a lot of hard work into it, and I appreciate them for that. But, yeah, on the recruiting side, I still have a lot of other schools coming after me, like Sam Houston, UTEP, Texas State, SFA, a bunch of other schools. I can't really name on top of my head, but Lamar, they just felt like home and family since day one, and they kept reaching out every single day.
And the fact, though, that you are still getting some attention from these schools, maybe a product, too, of the season that you're having, and they're probably looking at your film, too, and that sort of thing. So they're going to try and make it difficult for you before the middle of December, I'm sure. Okay, Jordan, let's talk about this. I mean, for you, I would believe that, or have to believe that this is a year of redemption. You go down, you suffer the ACL injury at Granbury last year, and then coming back this year, what's it like to go out and just play like you can, free and easy, just knowing that you can play to your capability with the injury now behind you?
With the injury I had, I don't like talking about it, but it just lit a little fire in me. And seeing my mom go down and cry, it just brought tears into my eyes, and I just wanted to go harder and just keep playing. And so I just grinded, and then to finally get a chance to get back on that field and play with my brother and with the team, it just meant a lot to me. And I just want to go out there and just play my heart out every time.
They say that God doesn't give us more than we can handle. So I want to know what you kind of take from the experience, just the rehab and putting everything into it to come back because the season that you're having. So what was that like? Take us through just all the work that you went through to put yourself in this position because that was last October, and the fact that you were on the field ready to go 10 months, and that's typically about a year-long recovery. So the fact that you were inside of that has to speak to what you did. Talk about that, what you did.
Oh, well, I thank my dad for this because sometimes I didn't want to go and then do stuff, but he kept pushing me to my full potential. He'd get on me, and then I just go. I grind every day in the gym, physical therapy, get on the field running, and just working into my craft to get back on the field.
That's what we call as parents' dad is tough love, right? And so, exactly right. Okay, so let's talk about your recruiting. You do have an offer from Auburn. You heard Coach talk about the potential that you might have. And so for you, what's going to be important for you in your development over these next couple of years so you can get to an ability so that you will have, just like the opportunity your brother has to play in college?
Just keeping my head down and, keep praying to God and keep playing my tail off. And I know there's more coming out there. I appreciate Auburn for the offer that they gave me. It's truly a blessing, and just keep moving forward.
All right, and so as we kind of near the end of this, just a couple more things to ask you guys about. Just the fact that you guys get to play together, your final year together last time, and you guys might be in different parts of the country depending on how college goes. So how special has this been for you guys to be able to be on the field? Sometimes you're on the same side of the field, that sort of thing. So what's it been like being able to play with each other and just kind of talk and just kind of share this experience? Because not a lot of brothers get to do this. So I'll start with you on this, Kamron.
It's a really special opportunity because not only we get to bond together at the house, but even on the football field, we get to bond together. Like, if he makes a bad call, I'll get on to him about it. If I miss a tackle, he'll get on to me about it. So, like, we just still hold each other up to a higher standard on the field.
Okay. And what about for you, Jordan?
It's truly a blessing, sort of what he said. We like to bump heads a lot sometimes, but we still come out together. We still play hard, fast. We know our keys. And I just truly love playing with my brother. I know he got my back, and I know that he knows that I got his back.
And what does it mean for your parents, though, to be able to watch you both in the stands? How much have you guys talked about that? Or do you guys, during a moment when you all are on the sidelines, you kind of catch a peek into the sidelines where they're sitting or anything like that?
Yeah, sometimes, I know my mom want to cry sometimes because seeing both of her sons do what they came in this world to do, and it's just play football and just bond together on the field, even at the house. So.
Right. And what about for you, Kamron?
Yeah, it's really a special moment for our parents because they came so far and put in the hard work for us to be able to be in this position together.
All right, terrific, guys. Okay, then finally, let's just talk about the Azle offense. They can move it over 420 yards a game, as you heard me mention with Coach Jones. What's the challenge that they present, and what's going to be the key to kind of getting after them? Of course, and they kind of remind me a little bit of Richland a little bit there. So let's talk about this. I'll start with you on this, Kamron.
Yes, sir. So our key in this game is we want to play to our standard and then go down to their standard. So we don't want to treat them like
they're like a slappy team.
Yeah. Slappy team.
Yeah.
We're going to play them like we did the first two games, Lonnquist and Geyer. So our job is to make the right plays and let our backups get in and get some tape.
And then what about for you, Jordan?
I think it's going to be a great game. They have a running back that's sort of like Richland. We have to be able to physically be dialed in until the keys, and then just tackling. And then the passing game, they have one wide receiver that's great, but I think we have better DBs that's ready for the challenge.
All right, looking forward to it, guys. Again, thanks so much for doing this with us. To my immediate left is senior safety Kamron Hall. To my far left is sophomore defensive back Jordan Hall. Thanks so much. Let's hear it for these two young men. And we want to remind you here that we are brought to you on the Aledo Coaches Show podcast by these two sponsors. First, H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and iPhysio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30, exit Las Vegas Trail, and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. Don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family-owned and operated for over 30 years. For my engineer, Zach Holmes, and the rest of the Hank FM staff, thanks for being with us here at Parker County Brewing Company. We're back next Monday on the patio when the Bearcats prepare for the final regular season game on Thursday. Mark that day, Thursday, November 6th at Denton at the Collins Complex. They'll be taking on the Denton High Broncos. Hard to believe that we're at the end of the regular season. Always goes too fast. Have a great week, everybody. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. So long for the Aledo Coaches Show podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. With the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us every Monday night at 7 from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. It's the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1, Hank FM, and NTXVarsitySports.com.